You can have your prescriptions brought to your door with 1 to 2 day delivery from your local CVS. Get same-day delivery, or just swing by and pick them up on the way home from the doctor. While you're here, get your questions answered and put your mind at ease, because there are still some things that you just can't get in a cardboard box. That's how healthier happens together with CVS. Not all prescriptions eligible for delivery. Restrictions apply. Visit cvs.com/delivery for details.
Welcome to the Hypothalamic Amenorrhea podcast. I'm Danny Sheriff, your host, certified fertility awareness practitioner, functional nutrition counselor, and founder of the HA Society, and of course, an HA recovery coach who has walked where you currently are walking. This is the place to come if you care about getting your period regularly. This podcast aims to educate, inform, and keep you motivated on your period and HA recovery track. So let's dive in. But last thing, nothing on the show should be taken as medical advice, so please seek the advice of your physician. The HA Society is taking clients. Coach Ashley and I work one-on-one with HAs, as we call you, to help you figure out a plan and, of course, implement it and stay accountable. Whether you've worked with a health practitioner already and you just want to stay accountable and strategic with the plan that they've laid out for you, or you want to start from scratch looking at all the aspects of your recovery needs and to create a game plan to reach those needs, then we are definitely your girls. When you sign up to work one-on-one with one of us, we're going to go over your history, your biggest obstacles, ensure that we're taking into account your specific goals, and start making a plan to reach them. So those goals could be getting your period back, could be getting pregnant, could be getting back to exercise or sport, or simply working on your mindset around your body image and long-term recovery. We also can teach you the fertility awareness method. So if you want to learn that so that you have the skills you need to go out into the world on your own without fear of getting HA again, we have got your back. So our coaching packages are either weekly or bi-weekly and only a month at a time commitment. So you're not paying tons and tons of money for 5-6 months. It's month to month, which is awesome. Makes perfect sense for period recovery, right? So to learn about other women's experiences working with us and to apply for a coaching spot, plus ask any questions that you might have before getting started, just go to thehasociety.com/coaching. Hello. So today we're going to talk about tracking progress in your recovery and how we do it here as coaches at the HA Society, how we watch for signs of progress, and how we then determine if we're going to make a change to a client's protocol or not. So I have a previous video already on signs of amenorrhea recovery. This episode is going to go a little bit more in depth about what we're looking for and how we make changes based on what we're seeing. So it's important to note that there is much more to look at than just I either have a period or I don't. Things happen in between. So what we are looking for is signs that your body is moving in the direction of recovery. Let's dive straight in. The very first thing that I have women do when they start working with me, most of the time, not always, is they start keeping tabs of what their basal body temperature is. So I've talked about that in previous videos, that cycle tracking is very important for most women, I believe, to be doing it. It's a way to basically do birth control or try to conceive without having to use any type of drugs, which is nice. It's an all-natural way of charting and tracking your fertility. And when we don't have HA, essentially, none of the signs that you would use to chart or track your fertility are present. And so you might be thinking, well, then how in the world would I use charting for recovery if I don't have any of the symptoms? Well, that's because we're looking for when the symptoms start to show up. And we know. So the cool thing is you're working with a blank slate. And I do enjoy watching a woman's chart go from nothing to something to all the things over time. So I get women to start tracking their basal body temperature from the get-go. What this is going to tell me is where your metabolism is at. So if your metabolism is low, if everything is down regulated, more often than not, this is going to manifest in a lower basal body temperature. And this tells me that you're not going to be getting your period tomorrow. There's work we need to do to get it up. And then based on the symptoms or based on what I know about your eating habits, your exercise habits, your stress levels, your current body weight and height, I have an idea of what direction we need to go in. More often than not, if your basal body temperature is low, and this looks like being below 97.5 Fahrenheit or below 36.8 Celsius, if it's lower than that, more food needs to be eaten. Depending on that, along with other symptoms I'm seeing, what I know about your mental state, your current lifestyle, I'm going to make specific recommendations based on that, with the goal of getting your basal body temperature to be up in the range that we want it to be. So say it's up in the range we want it to be, this allows me to know, okay, you're probably weight restored or more weight restored, which is great, super ideal. You're eating plenty. Basically, if you're in range, I know that the next steps we're going to take are going to potentially bring you to ovulation sooner. So you are someone where it's possible that tomorrow you're going to ovulate. And that's exciting. Okay, cervical mucus. Now, similarly to basal body temperature, I'm looking to see if you have mucus pattern that would be deemed normal or within the regular ranges. So you probably don't if you have HA. So you probably are seeing none, and every time you wipe your perineum when you go to the bathroom, it comes back dry, or you don't see any mucus show up in your underwear. That's a very common experience for HAs. And then during the process of recovery, we'll often see that start to up. So people will start experiencing a little bit of mucus here. Maybe they feel like they're not even experiencing as much as like the textbook is telling them that they will. That's helpful information for me to know. And during our work together, I'm going to be looking to see how much is being produced, how far does it stretch, are you experiencing what we call non-peak or peak mucus, and based on what we're seeing, I can get a clue of what your body's doing. Cervical mucus is basically telling me what estrogen is doing. So the way it works is that your hypothalamus is always signaling to your ovaries what to do. During HA, it's basically signaling to do nothing. And when we're in recovery, it's going to start signaling to produce estrogen. So your hypothalamus is going to tell your ovaries, produce estrogen, and that is going to cause, or their ovaries are going to then start producing cervical mucus from the cervix, and that's what's going to come out. So when we're starting to see cervical mucus, we know that estrogen production is kicking up. And depending on how much that we're seeing, the pattern that we're seeing it, we can get a good idea of how much it's kicking up. Is it enough? We can see typically cervical mucus in a healthy optimal cycle is appearing in the lead up to ovulation, and then ovulation happens and we stop seeing cervical mucus. So in a healthy cycle, we're seeing it for about 3 to 5 days. Now, through recovery, we might be seeing it for 1 day and then nothing, and then 2 days and then nothing. Maybe we're seeing it for 5 days and then it goes away, but we still didn't ovulate. And I'm able to use that along with your basal body temperature to know whether or not you did ovulate. Does it look like, based on the data we're tracking, that your body is trying to ovulate and then not, trying and then not? And this information then allows me to make the next best recommendation, which could be you're still working out too much, we need to make changes to your training, or you probably still need to eat a bit more. Maybe we are noticing that your carbohydrate intake is probably a bit too low, and we might make specific changes with your nutrition in order to get that cervical mucus production to improve.
I know a question on your mind is, how long will recovery take me? And I know that because I get that question a lot. And it's tough because the timeline can be really unknown. And look, I can't give you a magic answer that's 100% accurate, but what I can do is ask you a whole lot of questions to understand things like what your lifestyle is, where your mindset's at, what have you already tried? What are you willing to try and not willing to try? And a lot more questions like that to determine a general range that you could expect. So I created a quiz to help get that answer to you because I was asking these types of questions to girls all the time. So I thought I'd make a quiz. And it's called How Long Might It Take to Get My Period Back? The quiz. So once you go through it and you answer the questions, it will give you not just a time range, but a quick description of how you might be feeling to help you connect with that answer and see it, make sure, yes, like this fits, this feels good for me. And don't worry, these ranges don't have to be set in stone at all. The goal is to allow you to look at the range that came based on your answers and decide, do I want to do this or do I want to speed this up? So once you get your range, you'll also get a few emails from me that week with some important tips that are specific to you to help you work through some of the roadblocks that could be slowing you down and in turn speed up your recovery time frame. So take the quiz now. Just head to quiz.thehasociety.com or find the link in the show notes and let's do this. That's quiz.thehasociety.com.
Other things that I'm going to look at as a sign of progress and a determining factor about what things we change is your weight gain. Are you currently weight restored? Are you continuing to gain weight? Has your weight gain stalled, but your other markers of progress have or have not? All of that information helps me to make the next best decision. So if you answer yes to I'm currently continuing to gain weight, you know that possibly right now, continuing to increase the amount of food you're eating might not be necessary because you are gaining weight. If your weight gain has stalled, but you're not currently weight restored, but your basal body temperature is still low, but you're not seeing any cervical mucus patterns or you're not seeing ovulation happen, you need to eat more. Tracking body weight along with all of those other symptoms is helpful for us to know where you might need to take or continue to make changes. We're going to also be interested in things like, has your hair loss stopped? Are you not feeling cold anymore? Are you starting to experience breast tenderness or changes in body composition? Are you feeling muscle aches? Are you feeling some kind of swelling or experiencing bloating and changes to water retention in your body? These are signs that things are moving forward in the direction that we want them to be going in. And then we're going to be tracking, well, when does that start to go away and dissipate? And when is your body starting to normalize? And again, how is that lining up with the other progress markers that I mentioned earlier, which is temperature, mucus, weight gain, etc. Okay, mental progress is one of the big important ones, although it may not seem so, it really is. If you are still hesitant about weight gain, extremely stressed about weight gain, if you are extremely fearful of, how others are going to perceive you through this process, if you are itching to get back to training, or if you were never able to, make any changes or are still extremely reliant on exercise, and none of those mental hurdles have adjusted for you in a positive way, meaning it's okay for you to miss a session or reduce training, meaning you are experiencing an easier time being spontaneous about choices around food. If you're not starting to see changes like that mentally, we're noticing that and we're taking that into account, that it's probably going to affect your ability to recover long term. We're going to, at that point, recommend things like lifestyle changes, meditation. We're going to give you journaling prompts and mindset shift work to help you move through that. If you're approaching your nutrition protocol with just eat everything, tons of sugar, tons of processed food, we're going to recommend changes to that, because those things trigger anxious thoughts, trigger anxiety, and they stop us from really being able to make the changes that we actually need to make. It's really important that we bring our parasympathetic state down, that we reduce stress, because that actually is what makes you more likely to be able to do the physical work that you need to do, which is eating more and rest, and also brings just your brain and your stress levels and your cortisol and everything down to an area it needs to be in order for you to actually be able to ovulate. Because if you're chronically stressed or always freaked out, I don't think it really matters how much you eat or don't work out. Your body's still going to see that as an inopportune time to get pregnant. And then lastly, we're also going to be keeping a keen eye on your hunger signals and appetite and what you're telling us you're experiencing. So if you're experiencing extreme hunger, if you're experiencing no hunger, all of that is going to help us make a decision about what to do next, right? If you're always hungry, I'm going to be questioning, well, if you're always hungry and now this is lasting for a significant period of time, I'm going to be questioning if you're getting the nutrients that you actually need in order to reach a place of satiety. If you're seeing your intense hunger now normalize into a more satiated state, you're not as hungry, but I also see that your, basal body temperature is good, your metabolism's good, your weight restoration is on point, I'm going to see that as a positive sign that things are moving in the direction we want them to go. And that might result in no changes. We might just be deciding to wait and see. We might recommend a little bit of additional supplementation, something here and there, but we might decide that it's probably looking really promising for you that your period's going to be around the corner. This is how, as a whole, we can kind of guess how long recovery is going to take for you. This is a part of, the quiz that I created, which is how long might your period take to come. Just based on behavior alone, we can make estimations about how long your recovery is going to take. But, with these physical markers and with being able to really dive individually into you and what we're seeing in your metrics and in your behavior, we can really narrow in not just on how long it might take you, but on what specific changes you actually need to make. So I hope this was interesting and helpful and that you take away something that you can look closer at in your recovery and use as a tool for basically checking in on yourself, being less biased about what you see. A lot of people have these low temperatures, they have no period at all, and they're just but I feel like I'm doing all the things and I'm not willing to make more changes and I need more evidence and I need more data. All of these are areas that you can use to help you push through the story you have in your head that you can't recover and that you are or are not making progress, yada yada. You can use these in your own recovery. And that said, we are taking clients right now. There's currently 3 of us on our coaching team. So if you want to dive into your own recovery and get an individualized protocol just for you and work one-on-one with one of us, head to thehasociety.com/coaching, apply for a coaching spot right there, and we will get back to you pretty damn quick and get you all set up with your own coach. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you get updates when we release our regular videos. And if you are listening to this podcast, thank you. Please like it, follow it, rate and subscribe to it. Yeah. See you guys next time.
Thank you so much for listening today, guys. Please subscribe to the podcast, and if you could head to iTunes specifically and leave a rating or review, that would help so much because it makes it easier for other people with HA who are Googling around to find the podcast really easily. So if you do that, you're doing a service to all of the women.
You can have your prescriptions brought to your door with 1 to 2 day delivery from your local CVS. Get same-day delivery or just swing by and pick them up on the way home from the doctor. While you're here, get your questions answered and put your mind at ease, because there are still some things that you just can't get in a cardboard box. That's how healthier happens together with CVS. Not all prescriptions eligible for delivery. Restrictions apply. Visit cvs.com/delivery for details.